Grab a drink, get comfortable, and yes, spoiler warning up front. If you hit play on War Machine expecting a straight military training drama, you're going to get that vibe at first. And then the film pulls the rug? It turns into Army Ranger candidates versus a giant alien killing machine in the wilderness. And honestly, that's the point. This movie is not pretending to be delicate or prestige. It's built like a roller coaster. It climbs with backstory. It drops into chaos, and it keeps feeding you set pieces until it's done. Quick clarity before we dive in. There are two movies named War Machine on Netflix. The 2017 one is a satire about modern war. The 2026 one is the Alan Ritchson Survive the Robot movie, completely different. Alright, start to finish. We open in Afghanistan with our lead, a staff sergeant whose personal name doesn't matter to the movie, because later he's literally just 81. He links up with his brother. We get a few minutes of, we should go Ranger together, and then the war movie machinery kicks in. An attack wipes out the convoy. 81 survives with a knee injury and wakes up later to learn his brother died. He's also awarded the Silver Star, then we jump ahead. He's honoring that promise by going through Ranger selection, and the film leans into the numbers instead of names. Idea hard, he becomes Candidate 81. Sheridan and Torres are the authority figures hovering over him, questioning whether he's mentally fit after a near-drowning incident during training, but he refuses to quit. This first act is intentionally familiar, brutal training, a couple broad recruit archetypes, 81 as the stone-faced loner with grief pouring out of every silent stare. It's not awful, it's just the kind of setup you've seen before, and the movie is clearly saving its real hook. Then comes the final field exercise. They're sent into the wilderness on a simulated mission, including a mock objective involving destroying a classified aircraft and rescuing a pilot, and they're operating under training constraints. A blast rips across the sky, communications die, and then the team finds a strange metallic object near a creek. And in the most believable, exhausted soldiers in a movie, decision possible, they assume it's their target and try to blow it up. It doesn't blow up, it wakes up, it stands. And the second that happens, War Machine becomes a survival horror film where the monster is a walking tank with lasers. This is also where their rating starts doing real work. People don't just get picked off, they get obliterated. The robot scans, targets, and kills with brutal efficiency, and because the candidates aren't properly armed at first, the early slaughter is pure helpless panic. After that first massacre, we're down to a small handful of survivors. 81 is alive. 7 is alive badly injured, and now the mission is basically drag your wounded teammate through the wilderness while a machine hunts you like your paperwork it wants to shred. One of the coolest little mechanics is how the robot messes with navigation. Compasses spin wildly when it's near, and that becomes their low-tech proximity alarm, like a wilderness version of the water ripples warning. People always remember from Jurassic Park. From there, it's chase movie pressure, forest runs, river danger, impossible escapes, and repeated moments where the robot's behaviors feel system-driven. Scan, lock, fire, advance instead of emotional or personal. That machine logic makes it scarier because it doesn't hate you, it just processes you as a problem. They hit what should be a checkpoint in a normal training movie, the cadre instructor area, and find the adults are gone. That's the film's way of telling you nobody is coming to fix this. Now the movie starts doing action math. They scrounge real ammo and heavier gear. They try escalation. And the film makes a point of showing it doesn't matter much because the robot's armor is effectively bulletproof. So the answer isn't shoot it more. The answer is outthink it. That's where 81 finally becomes what the film promised. The combat engineer who can improvise under pressure. He starts using terrain, timing, and industrial tools instead of hero speeches. It's less about clever dialogue and more about stubborn competence, which is very on brand for Alan Ritchson as an action lead. In the climax, 81 lures the machine into a Korea industrial zone and exploits its weak point, ventilation. Netflix's own breakdown is pretty clear here. He bulldozes it into position and triggers a conveyor that dumps rocks into the vent, jamming the system until the machine self-destructs in a huge cascade of explosions. But the movie doesn't end with a quiet, we survived moment. It zooms out and goes global. There are more machines inbound, tens of thousands. Per Netflix's ending explicable, and the world is mobilizing into a larger response. 81 is welcomed as a ranger and sent forward, basically implying the movie you watched was the origin story and the next thing is the war. Now for the honest review part. War Machine is not trying to be high art. Some early emotional beats are blunt, and the dialogue can be clunky. A lot of the squad are sketches archetypes rather than deeply drawn characters, and the movie's big genre pivot isn't perfectly smooth. Also, it can give off military hype energy, and at least one major critic reads it as flirting with propaganda more than parody. If that kind of tone bothers you, that's not a small issue, it's baked into the movie's posture. But as a piece of Friday night survival entertainment, it works. The pacing is aggressive. The geography is readable. The robot is intimidating in a very simple, effective way. It advances, it punishes mistakes, and it doesn't negotiate. And Alan Ritchson is exactly the right kind of lead for this. He sells the physical suffering, he sells the stubbornness, and when the movie finally narrows to the core promise man versus machine, you buy it. A couple extra points where the movie either clicks for you or it doesn't. First, the surprise. The structure is still fun even if you know there's a robot coming because it's a hard pivot from war drama language into creature feature language. Some critics describe the shift as obvious but still energizing once it commits. Second, the machine as a symbol. Interviews suggest the creators sometimes viewed it as the embodiment of 81's internal baggage, shame, trauma, the thing he can't outrun, and that does explain why the film works best when it stops being about squad and becomes about 81 confronting something unstoppable. Third, why it can feel like Predator without being a carbon copy. These characters have training but not resources, no real comms, no proper ammo at first, no support, which is a clean setup for suspense, and multiple reviews explicitly frame it as Predator-like for that reason. So here's my bottom line. If you want originality, deep sci-fi world building, and character drama that punches you in the gut, this is not that movie. If you want a lean, nasty, high-pressure survival thriller where an elite training scenario turns into a fight with a giant robot and you're okay with some clunky dialogue along the way, War Machine is a solid watch. My rating? A strong 7 out of 10. It's not going to change your life, but it might absolutely improve your next movie night.